take you through this whole few slides, which we had done last time, but because you are recording it, it should be connected well. So we are talking about Doodle to Zentangle, and then we are saying that the taming minds to meditation. So there are 2-3 words coming in here. One is a Doodle, other is Zentangle, which is a new word for you guys. Taming minds and meditation. So they are all interconnected, because when we are talking about the minds, and as you see on my background, there are monkeys, and I had last time also shown you, I carry monkeys with me in my programs, because it gives you figuratively an idea about how the monkeys work, and that's how the minds also work. They keep jumping around. The mind cannot stay in one location, especially in the present times when we have got so much of information being bombarded on us through various media, all kinds of visual media, auditory media, and therefore the mind has become a major issue. In fact, the human mind, the attention span has shrunk, especially for children. It is a great concern in the schools, because children are supposed to focus on whatever is being taught to them, and they say that we have broken the barrier of a bird which was having about 9 seconds of attention span. And now human mind has, or the children's mind has become less than 9 seconds, about 8 seconds or so. That means that every 8 seconds, the child's mind can jump around like a monkey and go around. But also the good news is that the monkeys can be tamed, and therefore the mind can be tamed. And as I was telling you last time, that in the streets in our country, in India, we have these, they are known in local language as Madari. Madari is a guy who carries a small little monkey with him, with a small equipment which makes sound, dug-dugya we call it. He keeps rotating like this, and dug, 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 it gives sound. And then on the other hand, he has got a stick. And then with the stick and with this sound, he orders the monkey to jump around, to salute people, to walk on 2 feet, and all kinds of things. And people get amused. Now, I'm making this reference to the reason, to the point here that the monkeys can be tamed, and therefore the mind can be tamed. That's the short message that I wanted to give through this process. Now, why do we want to tame the mind? Is, as I said, because focusing is our problem. Attention is our problem. So that's where the doodles come in the picture. Let me say that let's introspect the 3 points that I had spoken about last time. And they are that we do have low patience. We have human race is running out of patience of late. And we are seeing that happening in the society, where 2 different kinds of people, 2 different religion people, 2 different nationality people, they start suspecting each other. They get at the loggerheads with each other, and then they lose their patience. They hold on to their own some of the belief systems, and so on and so forth. Nearer home, in individual life, within the families, we do find that between father and son, between mother and daughter, between brothers, and at workplace, we find that between the employees, the colleagues, boss and subordinate, all levels, everywhere, we have been losing patience. We want to hold on to our belief systems, and therefore we do get angry easily. And when we do get angry, we also get upset often. And all this probably leads to giving us a sign that there is a mental stress being built up. And that mental stress can disturb the mind's activities. And there is a connection between the mind and the body, so it can also further disturb your body's health, well-being. And that's how the connectivity goes on. So we are talking about that the root cause of the stress is this mental, instability, the disturbance. So that is a monkey mind, the mind not being stable, not being available to us whenever we want the mind to work certain things. It moves around here and there, and it loses out, misses. So therefore, there is a need for, the mind has got the inability to remain at the present moment, the need for taming the mind. So one can tame the mind. One of the processes is through art therapy. Art is one activity which can create, to a large extent, possibility of remaining on that moment. If you have seen any of the artists, for the days together, whole day, they'll be on their canvas and they'll keep doing that. But then that's not everybody's cup of tea. But for me, for example, at a very tender age of 11 or 12 in my school, my class art teacher had given me a life sentence because I could not draw the way she had drawn on the board. There was a flower to be drawn, and then I could not draw the same way as it looked. And like me, there were so many. Out of 40 children, maybe perhaps about 4 or 5 children were able to draw it well. So to the rest of us, the teacher gave a life sentence. You can't draw. And you just can't draw. That means that you are incapable of drawing, and forget about drawing. And I said, okay, I forgot about it. So that life sentence, when it was given before my logical intelligence had set in, which happens after 10 or 11 years age, then you accept that statement as a gospel truth. So our parents keep giving us similar sentences. Some of them are very good and some of them are not so good. Likewise, the teachers also unknowingly, they give this kind of life sentences, and we become shrunk to that. We become tied down, and therefore we don't even attempt. I never attempted further. I said, okay, art is not my cup of tea, so I cannot draw. It's fine. I was good at science. I was good at mathematics. I was good at so many other subjects. So I managed very well in my school, my college, and all that. Only after 50 years of that situation, in the 2012, when I was 62, when I had this chance occasion to go to USA and to learn Zentangle at the feet of the masters who had created this, I had also the opportunity of staying with them in their home for 2-3 days, because there is a good bond built up, and therefore my life sentence was lifted, and I started being able to draw. But let's experiment. Take your pencil for a walk. And I was talking to you last time. So what I suggest is that open a blank sheet. I suppose you have the papers, preferably if it's a drawing book is there, it's very good. Small drawing book, school children drawing book is good enough for this purpose. And can you take a pencil? If you have a pencil, if you have got a pen, you can take pen, but can you take it for a walk? And as I was trying to explain last time, what does it mean, taking a pencil for a walk? It means that the pencil or the pen, which is there in your hand, is having absolute freedom to do whatever it wants to do on the paper. You, as you know, whatever you call as an eye, is taking this pencil for a walk in the similar way as the dog and the owner have relationship. And I was talking about last time that you must have experienced either for yourself or you may have seen it happening, that the owner takes the dog for a walk. The owner decides how many minutes or how long the walk will last, because the owner is having the leash in his hands. The owner can pull the dog back. The owner can direct the dog sometimes here and there. So owner decides the time frame, and also the owner decides the space in which he will take the dog for a walk. But beyond this, the dog takes over. The dog decides where to sniff, how to walk about, zigzag, moving around here and there, and the owner simply follows. Now, this analogy, I want you to internalize and see whether you can do this with a pencil. That means you are the owner, and your hand, and in the hand, your pen or pencil is that dog. you shall decide how long or how many minutes you want to use this process, and you shall decide the limits on the paper. So normally in Zentangle, they create about 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch, about 9 centimeter by 9 centimeter square. I will just show you one of the original pieces, and there's a reason behind that. What they did was, these creators, and later on I'll show you their picture as well. Let's say this is a size. This is a size of 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch, and this is a paper. It's a drawing paper, but with a little more specifications. The paper which is free from acid, and if it is made out of cotton, 100% cotton, lovely. What I'm having in my hand is not 100% cotton, because 100% cotton papers are very expensive. So this one has got some cellulose and some cotton. But what is important is that it should be free from acid. Now, acid-free paper would mean that it will not change its color over a period. Otherwise, a white thing will become palish yellow and it will look old. So this paper, what I'm showing you is there with me for last probably a couple of years, of maybe 3, 4, 5 years. It is still whitish. So the paper should be 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch. Reason being that in that 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch, you can spend about 20 minutes of Zentangle. When tangling, we use the word tangling. We don't say Zentangling, but we say tangling. Zentangle is a word coined by them. Over a period, it will come into the dictionary as well. And what you're seeing are the kinds of patterns. And we'll talk more about it, what exactly constitutes a Zentangle. But the whole idea is that you will decide the boundaries on the paper, and you will decide the time, how much you want to spend while you are practicing Zentangle. Thereafter, you need to practice and make that happen, that your hand gets the freedom to move on that piece of paper without your mind controlling it, without your mind directing it. So right away, let me see what you can do when I count from 1 to 10. You open a blank page and you have, if you have got pencil, no problems. If you have pen, fine. Preferably pencil for this purpose. And as I start counting 1 to 10, you allow your hand to move on the paper without any controls. Let it go wherever it wants to go, and let's see what comes out at the count of 10. So when I say 10, you will stop. All right, are you all ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Stop. Now show me in the pictures what has come out. You put it up and bring it close to your. Okay, I can see Hokian. Hokian has got some interesting movement of the pen or pencil. Lovely. Next. Who else would like to show me? Let me see, because only 4 people are there on my screen. So let me try and get. All right. I am seeing Amalina. Amalina, can you bring a little closer to the camera, because there is some kind of a, or you are having a artificial background. So this is creating problem. Let me see Home. Home, can you bring closer to the camera and hold it there? Okay, so you have gone from one end to the other end, and then you return to the other end. It looks more like me to that your mind was slightly controlling that you go from this corner to that corner and come back. So it was a very subtle control by your mind. Okay, let me see who is the next one. Home has shown me, and who else? Let me put single picture so I can, no. Let me put all the pictures and then see what is happening. So I guess you got an idea what I was asking you to do. Now, if you find, now, okay, Ray is showing. Can you bring it closer, Ray? Wow, you have just made a square, and inside the square you have made some small little, again, structured known shape. That means your mind was controlling you, controlling your hand. The mind did not give the dog the freedom of moving about. Okay, so if you get an understanding what I'm talking about, it's good enough that if you find that on your paper, you got these shapes which are rhythmic or which are known shapes, maybe a circle, a triangle, or a smooth curve, etc., then your mind knew about these shapes and mind was controlling. What we need is the mind should not control. And for that, you have to create something, allow the hand to do something totally new things. Okay. And this will require some practice for you. The practice, for practice, what you can do is you don't waste your normal paper. You can use some old newspaper. And on the newspaper, you can probably take the pen and then you start counting in your mind and allow your pen to move around. So one of the methods I would suggest is that when you're doing that, you close your eyes. Because when you see when the eyes are open, then it is picking up the signals from what is being drawn, and in a very subtle way, the mind will start controlling you and say, no, it is not a squarish, it is not a straight line, it is not a proper curved line, etc. So when you close your eyes and then you move your pen on the paper and see what happens, and at the count of 10, you stop. There will be crisscrossing happening. There may be movement happening, which will be very smooth, but without any particular directions, and you'll enjoy seeing such things. It will be a very beautiful pattern which will emerge. Okay, so I will take you further to what I have to say here. Okay, so now here what you're seeing on the screen are the doodles which are which I picked up from some student's notebook. Everyone will have different things. On your own days, good days, in school days, you may not be doing something similar, you may be doing something different. Because the point is, all these shapes and whatever is getting scribbled is being done unconsciously. When you are listening to your teacher, the teacher is a little boring probably, or you are not enjoying whatever is being taught, automatically your hand would have gone to the last pages of your notebook and your pen or pencil would have started scribbling or drawing something which your mind has known and it has become a habit. So without conscious presence of your mind, your hand can move. That means it has already been transferred as a pattern, and then you can keep repeating those patterns. That was called doodling, and it was happening without your conscious knowledge. So what you saw here was the doodles. This was of one child, but you have your different ways. And you also might see some patterns. And it is here that we are going to bring this transition from doodle to the Zentangle. So what is doodling? Doodling, as I explained to you, whatever happens unconsciously through your hand. And last time I had also given you the example of when you go and buy a ballpoint pen from the stationery shop. You, after choosing which one you want to buy, you actually scribble something on a piece of paper. Now, what gets scribbled is not important. But the scribbling process was important because you wanted to check whether the pen works or it does not work. Simple. So likewise, the doodle or the doodling, what gets drawn on paper was not important. But the researchers have found out that when you're doodling, your mind gets focused on whatever the mind was engaged with, not necessarily what teacher was teaching. Your mind was thinking about what do we do in this evening, or whom do we meet, or some of the friends, do we go for a movie, or can we go for a game, or whatever else? So your mind is busy with certain kinds of thoughts. At that time when the doodling is happening, then your whatever the mind was working on gets focused. That was a new learning in the research work. So as we said, that the doodling happens unconsciously and it happens to everybody. And you are not you do not need to learn how to doodle, because there is no structured way of creating doodles. So therefore it is in the hands of every one of us that we can do this only unconsciously. And the research, if you have to trust the research work, then we all have got a possibility of creating focus, if at all we can bring this doodling process into a conscious realm of our existence. So as I said, it creates concentration and focus. Now that's where the question comes, that the doodling is a part of drawing part. So have you ever drawn, or why does one draw? And as I told you, that one can have lots of things happening in the mind when you're disturbed about something, when you're stressed out. So many things are going on in your mind, and that is where, if you pick up a piece of paper and pen and start doing that, even that just now what the exercise we did, taking the dog for a walk on the paper, or taking the pencil for a walk on paper. If you start doing that, believe me, by keeping your eyes closed, within few seconds, your mind will become calm. A lot of things which are happening in your mind may start reducing. When they start reducing, something which is important that has to be done at that time only will remain in your mind. Your mind will clear out and you can think clearly. The problem is, whatever is happening on the piece of paper is also directed by the mind. So in a conscious realm of your existence, when you are very conscious about what is happening around, then the mind becomes a monkey and keeps on jumping around. So this process cannot last for a longer period. Short period, yes, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, you can hold on. Because as such, the mind has got the capacity, on an average for children, about 8 minutes, maybe adults, maybe a little more. So 8 seconds, I'm sorry, not minutes, 8 seconds. So you can hold your mind on, all right, for some time, and this method works. But if you want to extend it for a long period, and that is where we are now going to. So the purpose of drawing is understood. And if you can draw, then you can definitely get benefited in this. But the question is that, do I have the talent? And as I gave you my story, that, well, my teacher had bound me down. My teacher said, you can't draw. So I said, okay. And it is something like that, a baby elephant in a circus is chained with a very thin chain. And the baby elephant tried to break that chain and could not break that. And so it started believing that I cannot break this chain. Now that baby elephant has become a huge giant animal. But that fellow also, with a thin chain, will not even attempt. So in my case also, for 50 years, I never attempted to draw. So that binding, that belief system which is creating, which is the limiting belief which gets created in our mind from our childhood, that needs to be broken. It needs to be removed and changed over. So here, particularly for drawing purpose, everybody can doodle. So instead of how do we draw things, we can say how are we doodling, and from doodling we can move to the Zentangle. It becomes an easy pathway. So I told you that Rick Roberts and Maria Thomas in USA, they transformed this secondary and unconscious process of doodling. As I said, doodling happens unconsciously, and it is a secondary process. The primary process is your conscious mind working on something. So if you're thinking about some design, you're thinking about some concept, it was thinking about trying to understand some philosophy, and your mind was busy with that. And if you start doodling, if your hand is moving on piece of paper, then you'll be able to concentrate. I believe when Maharishi Mahesh Yogi was one of the early seers who had gone to USA in the 70s. And he had created a new meditation form called Transcendental Meditation, TM. Transcendental Meditation in 70s had become very popular. And so I had also gone and learned from one of the masters. And Mahesh Yogi carried this process to USA. For the first time, the US citizens came across something very interesting, very unique, and very enigmatic. The word meditation was itself new for them. And the meditation is not exact translation of the original word called dhyana. Dhyana is a Sanskrit word in India, and dhyana is concentration, again a loosely translated word, but that is in English they have converted into meditation. But this word in 8th century, when the Chinese scholars used to come down to India, they took it with them to China, and they could not pronounce it the way the Indians would pronounce. So dhyana became Chan. And from China through Korea to Japan, when it reached there, it became Zen. So dhyana and Zen are from the same origin, and they mean more or less same. But today the word Zen has been accepted from Japan. It has gone into the English vocabulary, and therefore this word Zen was adopted by these people to create a word for this. So they transformed this doodling process, which was unconscious and secondary, into a primary process. That means your primary work is to make Zentangle art form, and it became conscious process. That was a challenge, big challenge, and we'll see how they resolve that. So these are the creators of Zentangle. They call it as a Zentangle method. And this method obviously has got certain principles, certain rules. And if you can adopt those rules, and you own those rules, you surrender to those rules when you're sitting down to do the Zentangle art form, then you can very easily get into the meditative state of mind. And if you continue this on a day-to-day basis, then it can start giving you the benefits. The beauty of Zentangle is that it has got both instantaneous benefit, what we call as immediate gratification, and it can have a long-term changes happening in your capacity, your mind's capacities. For example, let's say that if you're a working person and your boss called you in the cabin, and there was some problem, some mistake, and the boss has shouted at you, and you got very disturbed. Probably you thought that it was not your mistake, but the boss thought that it was your mistake, or whatever. I'm just giving a very imaginary example. So now when you come out of the boss's cabin, you are agitated. You feel that you are not supposed to have been shouted at, but that fellow has shouted at you. So your mind is disturbed. If you want to calm down your mind at that very moment, and if you have learned Zentangle process, which I used to do that, and I used to carry this kind of a small diary, which has got, the size of 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch inside. And I would have in my breast pocket and my pen and my pencil all the time. So all you need to do is to open up one fresh page and let your pencil go for a walk, and then follow the rules which are being taught. And I started following that, and within no time, believe me, trust me, your mind becomes calm. Other way around, let us talk about it. In my own example, I remember I had to go for to discuss with one of the IAS officers. IAS is a very high level government officers in India. So now that gentleman had invited me to discuss some very interesting, important training program for his organization. But he invited me to go to a hotel, a big hotel, star hotel, where there was a seminar going on in which he was supposed to attend that seminar. And he told me that when you come to this hotel, and he gave me a time, he says, you 10 o'clock in the morning, you please come down. And I was there at 9:45. And he said that you just send me an SMS so that I will come out of the hall and we'll discuss for a few minutes, and then I'll go back into my hall and then you can go back. I said, fine, fair enough. So at 9:45, I was there. I immediately sent him a message that I am here. I'm sitting outside the hall, which hall he had told me, in a nice sofa, and there was a nice environment in that hotel. So he sent me back a message saying that I'm sorry, but very interesting talk has just begun and I must attend this. So after finishing listening to this talk, I will come out. It may take about 30-40 minutes, he said. I said, no problems. I sat there. The 30 or 40 minutes got converted into 2 hours. When he came out, he was very apologetic. Now imagine in my place, somebody else was there and he had some couple of more meetings had already arranged and he had to go and meet them. What will be the state of his mind? He'll be looking at the watch every few seconds that 30 minutes are over, 40 minutes are over, why he has not come? He'll be looking at the door and then he'll send the message. So I sent a message. I said, look, what is the situation? And he says, I'm sorry, but some more time. He never gave me the exact time. But then there's someone else in my place who would lose patience and he may start in the mind, starts howling, oh, just because he has got a big position, he is in a higher authority, he can do any damn thing, whatever he wants, blah, blah, blah. Your mind chat will begin. Either you can cancel that and send a message, oh, I'm sorry, but some other time. Or if you feel that, no, that will be very difficult, then you get agitated inside yourself. And if that keeps happening, then when he comes down here, probably unconsciously, you may burst out, or your facial expression will probably bring it out that you are not happy, you're very agitated, you are upset. And in that situation, your mind cannot go through the process for which you had come. Let's say if you're gone for a negotiation or you're gone for discussion of something, your mind is already preoccupied with an anger, upset, which you are not able to handle well at that moment. And so the outcome of your meeting will not be to your desired expectations. Now, for me, it so happened that I had just come back from USA. I had learned this Zentangle. I was carrying this book in my pocket. So all I did was, all right, I will sit and then start doing some Zentangle. So I saw there was a big vase about 3 foot high, beautiful carved and all that. And there were some flowers on that. And so I just sketched it out, that outlines. And then inside I started doing this Zentangle process work. And I was engrossed into that. I did not even realize how my time was passing. Of course, I knew that I had some other work, which I said, I'll postpone. No problem. This is very important meeting. And when he came out, now he was disturbed. He was guilty, not I. He found me very, very pleasant and very calm. And he says, I'm so sorry, but it was very important. I said, don't worry. Don't have to justify anything. Let's now sit down and work on this. And then he suggested some meeting in his office and some training program was to be done. And I walked away with the training program, and he has to go back with a little guilty mind. So that's the power of instantaneous gratification you can get. At the same time, if you want a long-term change to be brought about in you, let's say you know by your nature that you are a very short-tempered person, or you know that you are an impatient person, or you know that your mind is very negative all the time, looking for the negativity in everything, and you want to change that. So meditation was found to be one very powerful process, and that is what was taken from India to USA by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. So in his case, what happened was people started questioning, and the Western world always looks at the reason. The Western world does not accept anything blindly. They say that, what are the evidences? How do we know that it works? Which way it will work? And so in those days, whatever were the methodologies available for doing the research work, brain research, it was in a nascent stage at that time, but they had understood to connect certain probes, and then they were measuring the, let's say, heartbeats, the blood pressure, and some of these parameters which were there, which they knew that when you are angry, your heartbeat goes up very fast. When you are angry, probably your blood pressure might go up a little bit. So they say, okay, if you are claiming that by meditation you can become calm, then it should reflect on your heartbeats. It could reflect on your blood pressure. And that is what exactly they did measurements in the controlled environment on Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. And then he taught to some people doing this transcendental meditation and on those people. And they were so excited. They said, wow, it works. And so immediately lots of books started coming out. And that's how this meditation was accepted in the Western world. Now, there are so many ways in which you can do meditation. There's not a single way. And the scriptures would tell us, the Indian scriptures would tell us there are 112 different ways in which you do meditation. There are dynamic meditations. There are all kinds of meditations. So what we are learning today is one of them. Okay. One of the modern ones, let's say, that you are getting engrossed into doing certain things, and meditation must be decoded in the form that not that your posture is going to create the meditation, not that you sit down in a particular way and then you close your eyes and then you start chanting some mantras, or that's the process work. The meditation, when it happens to you, is important, and that is where I love the definition given by Osho. Osho had mentioned that the meditation is the non-judgmental witnessing. It's a one sentence, but so very powerful. Non-judgmental witnessing is meditation. It means that you are a witness to something and not the doer. You are not getting engrossed, involved into any action. You are only a watchman. You are watching what is happening around. And whatever you are watching around is non-judgmental. That means you're not letting your mind to process that and come out with any kind of a judgment. So let's say you are sitting on a busy railway station. And on the railway station, on a bench, you are sitting and you want to be a watchman there. You just want to watch what is happening around. So you'll enjoy watching people walking about. Some people are running around. Some people are having their bags and baggage on their heads. The train has arrived on the platform and they are late, so they are running around. And some people are casually walking. Maybe there are some people who have come to receive somebody, so they are looking into every compartment. And you are just watching. If you're just watching, you enjoy watching, and nothing is going to trigger any more thoughts to you. If you can reach this level, then you're doing a meditation there. You are becoming a watchman. Now imagine that you find that some nice couple of girls are walking about, beautiful girls are walking about in front of you. Your eyes are also going there, and you are not getting connected with the girls. So your mind is, you are still controlling, but then you find that a couple of rowdies who are also behind those girls. And one of the guy walks a little faster, and then he pinches that lady, or he touches or nudges that lady. And if that person, that lady, is known to you, now can you still remain without any action? You might probably get up, suddenly run, and then catch hold of that guy, and then you might probably create a scene there. So now this is called you getting entangled into the environment. You're getting entangled into what is happening around. And if that is happening, then you cannot do meditation. The meditation has to be that you do not judge anything what is happening around. Very subtle. So now these are the ingredients which had to be brought into the making of this Zentangle process. That how do we create this process of non-judgmental witnessing so that it can become a meditative process. And we're going to learn about that. So Zentangle is not doodling. Zentangle is actually an easy to learn method of creating beautiful images from a repetitive patterns created by Rick Roberts and Maria Thomas in USA, which you just saw the picture. And they gave this name Zentangle because the word Zen, as I told you, it has been Dhyana to Zen to Shen to Zen. India to China to Korea to Japan. And that's how it became a Zen. The tangle, as I said, the mind gets muddled up, mixed up. And how do we overcome that? Therefore, they use this word tangle. So tangle is a conscious doodling process. as I said, no, that 10 seconds, if you are just letting your hand to move on the piece of paper, it's a doodling. It's just going on without any prescription. It just goes around. So conscious doodling without any meaning being attached to it. So that's how the word Zentangle they created. And this is very interesting to learn now. You are seeing a vertical line here. This is the line which is making you to cross from unconscious to conscious. And that happens every day in every one of our life in the mornings when we wake up. When you are asleep, you were unconscious, meaning your senses were not reporting back to you. You could not see anything what is happening. You could not hear anything what is happening. So your senses were not reporting back. Your mind was switched off at that time. You were unconscious. And then moment your eyes open, and you don't know what wakes you up, but you wake up. And suddenly all your senses become alive. And now you can hear the sounds, you can see the light, you can touch and feel, you can smell whatever is happening, the fragrance and all that. So you have gone into the conscious mind. This transition, the vertical line is a transition, is very interesting and important, because our doodles are happening on this side, the mindless happenings when you are unconscious. And Zentangle happens on the other side, conscious mind, which is a mindful act. And this vertical line becomes very important because you need to hover around on this line. You cannot go deep into the right hand side further. Then your mind becomes monkey and takes charge. So you want to remain conscious, and yet you want to remain very close to the unconscious level. That's where you lose the track of time. That's where you do not even realize what is happening around. And that's a meditative state of mind. That whatever is happening around, you are not going to get affected by that. You are stable, you are still, you are absolutely in, that there are no activities happening. Now that, in meditative terms, there are different words. I will not go into those details, but we want to hover around somewhere here. And that is what was created by the Zentangle creators, how you remain there. These are some of the benefits of using the Zentangle as a regular practice, not just once in a while, but regular practice. Once in a while, as I told you, that if you learned it fully well, then to get the instantaneous benefits in the such difficult situations, you can use that. When my father was on the deathbed in USA, at 2 in the night, or rather early morning, we received a call, and all 4 brothers, sisters, all of us had to go there, and they said, look, we don't know how long will he breathe further. So if you want to see him last, please come down. Now that may be a very, very stressful situation, you can imagine. And all of us, my brothers, we were given a room there. This happened in the USA. So we were sitting there, we were told that don't make any noise. So you can't cry, you can't do any kind of situations, you can't express your grief. And that was a time, again, I pulled out my diary like this, and I sat and I started doing my Zentangle. And I could remain calm. I'm giving this personal example because, you know, it's not just the theory, it's a practical thing. So stress reduction is possible, relaxation is possible. You can improve the sleep. I've done this with some of my students, and many Zentangle practitioners have reported back. Some of the students that I was training them for becoming good students for competitive exam, they were saying that the whole day they have been studying and they get stressed out in the night, and when they sleep, their mind will be still looking at thinking about whatever they have learned, and thereby their sleep will be disturbed, and next day morning they are not able to wake up properly, and they are groggy and they cannot concentrate. So when I taught them, and I gave them a 21 days of booklet that we have created as a practice book. After 15 days, I wanted their report back. So they reported back, and one of the students said, look, sir, I'm able to get very good sleep now in the night, because before I sleep, for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I sit down and do this Zentangle. And thereby in the morning, I'm waking up fresh. Because when your mind is free from any of the thoughts, and then when you sleep, then you also wake up with a fresh mind. If your mind is having very positive, very, very pleasant thoughts, good thoughts, then you wake up also with a very pleasant and good thoughts. And that sets your day very well. So improves the sleep, it improves patience, self-esteem. This is for people who have no other capacity in them. And suddenly when they start doing this Zentangle, they can become Zentangle artists and they show to the people and people start appreciating them. Thereby their self-esteem grows, it improves. It assists the team building process when you're in a group, when you do this Zentangle. And in USA, they have now started doing that in corporate world, that the teams, when they have to meet for a meeting, team meeting, otherwise they'll have lot many other questions and issues with each other, finding faults with each other so that they can defend themselves. And after they started doing Zentangle together for 15 minutes, and then they start discussion about the meeting, their minds were fresh, they could finish the meetings faster, the results were better, and there were no backbiting on each other, there were no find faulting with each other, because they found that I must do my work and he or she will do his or her work. Thereby, when you do for a longer period, then it helps you to modify your behaviors. You become calmer, you become cooler and all that. It nurtures and develops creative abilities. This is a little more detailed thing. I will skip right now to talk about it. But it conserves your energies and therefore you can use it when your creativity is demanded of. It develops and rehabilitates the fine motor skill. This is for the children, young children. When they want to have the control on their movements, this helps in that. Anger management, as I told you, it increases the attention span and ability to concentrate. So many benefits people have brought out. There are more than 4,000 to 5,000 Zentangle, certified Zentangle teachers in the world today. And before COVID came in the picture, Zentangle word was the 5th largest searched out word on the internet. So you can imagine that this is spreading like a wildfire. Of course, it's not as wild as the COVID, which has spread. But then good thing is that the COVID has died down. It is probably trying to get converted into an endemic now. But Zentangle will not die down. It will keep growing. So these are some of the examples. You see very varied examples. I mean, there's no connection you can see between the 3 of them which you see. And yet I'm calling all of them as Zentangle. So there's a huge possibility and anything and everything can be done using this process work, this method. And all of them, they look so beautiful. And yet if you have to concentrate on any of the pattern, you will find that none of the lines that I've drawn are perfect. That's a beauty. You see, if you have to be trained as an artist, then they'll teach you how to perfect your lines, how it should have a uniformity, how you have to train your senses of controls. And here I'm talking the opposite. And yet I am saying that you can create beauty. So just look at the nature. The inspiration is from nature. If you just pick up one of the trees, can you see that there is absolutely no perfection in the tree? No 2 leaves are exactly identical. They look similar, yes. They are not identical. One may be small, one may be big. The branches are also not going on in a very geometrical patterns. They can go here and they can go there and they can become wonky and all that. And yet they look so beautiful. So nature tells us that imperfection is acceptable. Imperfection is fine, it's beautiful. Don't only the human beings start making perfection. And I was amazed when I went to USA and UK and all that, when I go to the large malls, you find that all the eggs must be of the same shape. All the melons are actually round. And then if there is a little different shape, then they will reject it. They try and create the kind of growing up of those vegetables also in a very controlled manner. So thereby we are converting this into a very artificial way. So Zentangle is absolutely natural process and natural elements have been used for making the patterns. And so that brings us the mindfulness. the father, John Kabat-Zinn is known as the father of mindfulness process. And he defines this mindfulness as that mindfulness is the practice of paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally. So this is a little more extension of the meditation. There are 4 words. One is practice of paying attention. Second one is that it should be on purpose. So it's not without any purpose. Third one is that it should be in the present moment. And the fourth one is non-judgmentally. Now the present moment and non-judgmentally along with the attention can be attributed to the meditation. And now if you add some purpose in that, then it becomes a mindfulness. So Zentangle, the creation of the Zentangle method, they kept in mind because the Western world is more caught up with the mindfulness. The Eastern world is still holding on to the non-purposeful, non-judgmental process of meditation. And it is believed that over a period, the Western world is moving towards the Eastern world. And ultimately, when we go beyond the material world, when we go beyond the day-to-day activities wherein the purpose gets embedded, then we will be seeing the purer form of meditation being taken further up. But since it is produced and created in Western world, so we will also look at it, that how it can be cultivated. So let's get into the action. Now, the action is like this. I am giving you 3 patterns. Now, there are millions of patterns created by Zentangle, and they are all simplified versions of the patterns existing in the society, in the environment, in the nature.
Dilip, can I?
Yeah.
Your voice is going in and out. I think just keep your mic. We are losing.
Okay, let me bring this fellow closer to me. Is it improving? Is my voice pattern improved? No. Now, how is it?
We are okay. Not connect.
Am I better?
Fine for me.
Yeah, it's also okay with me.
Everybody is able to hear me?
Yeah, it's very clear.
All right. All right. So what I've designed for you to do is, there are 3 Zentangle patterns. Now, when I say, and I have not even given you the rules, but rules I'll give you once you have practiced a little bit. Let's see how it works. Okay. But whatever I speak are the rules at the moment, and then later on we'll formalize it. So just look at them. And if I have to take my cursor on the first one, the tipple, what we call as a tipple. Now you'll say that it is nothing but a circle. And then it moves from with one tipple, I move to the another, expansion of that I have put a few more tipples connecting with each other, touching each other. They are not crossing each other. Okay. And then I expand it further by changing the sizes of the tipples or the circles at a random way. Random way, not in any random way. And then in the last one, whatever is the boundaries created are all filled up with tipples. Now this is a typical a process in Zentangle, that you pick up the pattern, and the patterns are made out of, trust me, just 4 elements. Like English language has got 26 alphabets. I call these 4 elements as 4 alphabets for doing any kind of drawing. And I will not go into the different types of drawings, but I'll stick to the Zentangle here, that the 4 elements are all that is required to create millions of patterns. The same way as 26 alphabets are good enough to create volumes and volumes of literature all over the world. So that's the beauty, that the alphabets, when you put them together, it creates a word. When you put few words together, it creates a sentence along with certain different kinds of words, of course. And when you put few sentences together, it creates a paragraph which gives you a specific concept. And when you put several paragraphs together, it gives you an essay or a story or a whatever volume that you create. So this is how it builds up. So now here we have got 4 alphabets of Zentangle. I mean, it's 4 alphabets are for all kinds of drawings, but here I'm using the word Zentangle. Okay. The first one is a straight line. A straight line of any dimension. Now, on your piece of paper, try and draw a straight line, whether you can draw a straight line or not. Just about 5 straight lines you draw. Did you need to be taught how to draw straight line, or you already knew? You knew it, right? Now, this straight line can be short one, it can be long one. It can be horizontal, it can be vertical, it can be at an angle. But a straight line is a straight line. And a multiple of straight lines, if you draw, it creates a pattern. So this is first element. The second element is just a dot. Just a dot. Because a straight line itself is created by the millions of dots put together. So can you also put a dot on anywhere? Do you need to be taught? No. You know how to put a dot. The third one is a curved line. When it comes to the curved line, we'll break it up into 2 parts. One can be a clockwise curve. And I think you guys will still be able to make it out, but maybe your generation to the next generation, when the clocks, material, the physical clocks have gone away and only the digital clocks are there, then they will not even know what is clockwise and what is anti-clockwise. But I'm sure you guys will be able to understand. So when I say the English letter C, I know that it is going anti-clockwise. Are you getting my point? Now, if I draw the English alphabet S, then halfway through it changes the direction, becomes clockwise. So the English alphabet S gives me both the aspects of the curved line, clockwise as well as anti-clockwise. So that's our next element, a curved line, but it can be clockwise or it can be anti-clockwise. And the fourth element again is a combination of the third one, but I call it as a island. When I say island, what I mean is that where you begin, you come back to the same place. An island is when you begin with your pencil or a pen on whichever point you put, you move wherever, you allow the dog to move wherever he wants to, but it should come back to the same place. It's an island. It's not crisscrossed anywhere. So that's a one loop, if you can call. So the circle is a structured island. But the moment I break the curvature of the circle, it can be anything. It can be any kind of shape, but it comes back to that. It's an island. So these are the 4 elements, and using these 4 elements in a very structured manner, in a deconstructed manner, millions of patterns can be created. And right now on the screen are 3 patterns. Then, as I said, that the different alphabets, when you put them together, it can become a word. So in our Zentangle process, every structured pattern is a word, which may have a combination of one or more of these 4 elements. And it should repeat in that fashion. So when it repeats, like you used to do the cursive writing in your school days, early childhood days, when 4-line notebooks are there, and then you keep on repeating A, you keep on repeating B, and that's how you learned how to draw this A, B, C, D. Now with even your eyes closed, you can write down whatever you want to write. So we need to take ourselves to that kind of an unconscious level by first learning consciously, repeating it, and creating a space in the brain, which you can call it as a library, or I call it as a Zentangle village. And once you have parked your patterns, which you have learned, when you're learning in a conscious manner, you're repeating it several times. And once it has become part of you, it will be positioned in the Zentangle village as one of your resource tangles, Zentangle patterns. So first one is called tipple. The second one is called crescent moon. So now whatever island you may draw, a small island, one square inch, if you can draw an island, or as I said, when I say island, that is one of the elements. So you begin at one place and come back to the same place without crisscrossing the lines, then it's an island. And on that island, on the inner walls, you can see my cursor moving. There are half moons drawn multiple number of times, multiple places at random. Again, randomness is our, borrowed from the nature, that randomly the branches branch out. Randomly the leaves will have its own shapes happening. So here we'll go random. We'll learn from the nature. So there's nothing like, 7 moons you have to create, or 5 moons you have to create. Any number of moons you want to create, you can create. Fewer number of you can create, but you have to progressively move in that direction that you have drawn in the second stage. In the second piece, you have just repeated a parallel line over the moon, keeping certain distance from the moon. And you do that in a sequential manner. Where you have begun with, you go in a clockwise or anti-clockwise so that you do not miss out any. Then you make the third one. Why did it come back to this? Then you go to the third one. So there are multiple moons. We call it an aura. In Zentangle language, there are words created. There is a vocabulary in Zentangle. Aura. So you keep on repeating and then keep on going, and the middle portion will start shrinking and shrinking. And you see in the last one, it has become a very small space, which you can again fill up with the ink. So this pattern is called crescent moon, and any kind of a space you can fill up with this pattern as you fill up with the tipple. The third one is a grid based. When I say grid based, that means you are drawing vertical lines and horizontal lines. We have learned that the straight lines, okay? So straight vertical lines and straight horizontal lines may be equal spaces as your eyes can measure it out. And then in each of these squares, on one of the corners that you can choose, either this corner or this corner, this or this, you can have your own choice. You have made a replica of the square, maybe half or 1/4 of the size, by drawing one horizontal and one vertical line in the more or less same locations. And then in the third space, you have connected these cross points or the horizontal and vertical line to the other end of the corner. And that is how you've gone to the fourth one, where the smaller square has been filled up with the ink. Now, these are only just 3 patterns because we have got limited time, so I cannot go into more detail. But then once you've learned this much, you can learn many more patterns, and I'll tell you where you can find them. All over the internet you can find, but I have created 17 of my own short videos. And in each of the videos, I have taught, or I have demonstrated how to make each of the patterns using these 4 alphabets of Zentangle: a dot, a straight line, a curved line, and an island. So now the activity that I wanted you to do, but I don't know whether we have enough time. So you have to tell me,
yes,
at what pace do I go?
Yeah, how long is this activity?
See, if I take you through about 20 minutes of time to go through this, so that you would have created your first Zentangle artwork.
Okay. Are you all okay with the 20 minutes? Is it okay?
And then I have to wind up, so another 10 minutes will be required for winding up that whatever we have done. So about half an hour more.
Yeah, fine. That's the time that we are supposed to close, 11. So is that okay? Is that okay, everyone? Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
it's great with me.
Oh, okay. Okay, Dilip,
Great.
you have the time.
So on the outer limit will go up to 11 o'clock India time. And right now India time is about 10:15. So 45 minutes more maximum we can probably take. Lovely. So what I want you to do is now approximately on your drawing paper, draw the square which is of 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch. That means your finger is roughly about 3 inches, 3 inches, a little more than the finger. Approximately, just make a square. Another beautiful thing in Zentangle is that we do not need any instruments. So everything is happening by your visual means and approximation. So once you made a square, then I want you to put the 4 dots in the inner corners of the square. I must demonstrate that to you so that you do not. Let me find out a piece of paper.
So you can do it by annotation. Zoom got the annotation function. If you want to, you can draw on the screen.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
You see, I'm drawing something on the screen actually that you can draw something as well.
Oh, I see. I see. You're talking about using the whiteboard.
Yeah.
That means I should come out of this? No, then only I can use that.
You can just have the PowerPoint, which is a blank. Then you can just draw something on it.
Oh, I see. I can
see
have
the view option. Then after that, they annotate. Then from there, that they will give you the pencil or the line of drawing. You see, I'm doing something.
But my problem would be, yeah, I saw that, and this is something when you take your pencil for a walk on the paper and whatever it comes out.
True.
Okay, that's fine. But here I have to be a little more structured because we are in a conscious way. We are learning certain new patterns. So let me draw on my piece of paper because I won't be able to draw exact squares and all that. It's difficult. So can you see a square?
Yep.
Okay. Now in this square, I have put 4 dots in the inner corners of the square. Can you see them, these 4 dots?
Mr. Dilip, are we using the slide? I mean, if we don't, can we actually close it?
Yeah, so that we can see you.
Okay, let me quickly pick up from my library a slide on this. That will be a better idea. So what I'll do is for the moment I'll go out of the sharing and pick up that. Is that okay?
In fact, we can swap the video and share screen, Malina. If you want, you can click on the function.
Okay, so I have now come out of the sharing, and then I go to the screen. But when I go to the screen, now I have to pull out from my YouTube channel. Can anybody guide me? How do I go to YouTube?
But why don't you do it now? We can see you. Is everyone seeing him now in the spotlight?
No.
No.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, are you saying that
spotlight him? Yeah.
In this, if I show you like this, it's a bigger one?
Yeah.
Yes.
I can see it better.
Is this good enough?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So can you see the 4 dots also in the 4 inside corners, 4 corners?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So now these 4 dots, what you're seeing from each corner, you have to allow the doggy or your pen or pencil to move from one dot to the other horizontally, then come down to vertical, then go horizontal back and to the original place, allowing the dog to move the way the dog would move. Meaning, do not let your mind dictate how you should connect these dots. Which
Not
means,
a straight line, right?
sorry?
That means that move it in the straight line or?
No, straight line is what your mind tells you. So allow your hand the way it wants to move. So it may be zigzag, curvy, you know. I'll just make on mine that without thinking, without letting your mind to dictate. So I've done this and I'll just show you what I've done. Can you see what I've done?
Yep.
So it's a irregular square, you can call it. But this again, practice of, as I said, that the time and the boundaries you have decided, the rest you have to leave it to the mind, leave it to the hand, and the mind will not interfere. So having done this, now you have got one space available. Either you can fill up the entire space with one tangle pattern, or you break it down to this inner space of the irregular square that you are seeing into some more islands, maybe 2 or 3. Now, since we are showing you some 3 different patterns, so you break it down into 3 islands at random, which would mean again that the doggy has to do its work. Your hand has to move without the mind dictating. The mind only tells you that create 3 islands connected with each other. So I'll do it first and I'll show you, and then you can probably create in your own way. But do not copy me. You have to allow your hand to move whichever way it wants to. Okay? I just went from one point to the other end and other end to another one, and it created 3. Is it visible clearly?
Yes, yes.
So I have done this. You need not copy me, but you can create your own 3 segments, or 3 islands will be created of, again, irregular shape, which are contained within your irregular square that you have created. Now, this process which I did is called stringing, string. I mean, I'm giving you the vocabulary of Zentangle as well. So now you have got 3 spaces which are connected with each other. And each space you have to fill up with one of the tangle patterns. So what I will do is now, again, I'll go to the, for your reference purpose, I will go back to the presentation, and the same slide which I was showing you will be there on the screen. And as you are filling up your space, one space, now this filling up portion will happen with your pen. The pencil is used only to create the boundaries, and therefore it should be very fine and faint pencil work. It is not going to be a permanent one. And then each of these 3 spaces that have been created will be filled up by pattern of your choice. Right now, you do not have a choice because you are learning. So you use those 3 patterns, which I'm going to show you. And as you are, where is that? Is this the one? Yes. And if I share that, oh no, why has it gone back? I wanted the slides to be presented. So this is the one, yeah. Okay, so you can see these 3 patterns: tipple, crescent moon, and cubine. And it is your hand which can decide, not your mind, but in the spaces, 3 spaces that you have created, that you are going to one by one going to fill up the whole space with each of these patterns. And as you are doing that, I will tell you some of the Zentangle activities that I have done, my own story, etc. Where this should take about 10 to 15 minutes time for you. My only simple suggestion is that don't make it very small grid. The third one, cubine, don't make a very small grid. Likewise, the crescent also don't make very small moons. Make reasonably big ones so that your lines are visible. It does not become very gitch pitch, as we use the local. It should look distinct. And then we'll see how it has turned out, each one of you. So, and second thing is that take your time. Do not draw it mechanically. Your mind, your eyes are on the tip of the pen, and you are reducing your speed by half. So when you're doing that, your tip of the pen will create curiosity in your mind, of course, that what shape it is going to take, how it is going to come out with that. So just to repeat that, first you have made those 4 dots onto the inner corners. Then you allowed your hand to move from one dot to the other dot to create an irregular square inside the square. And within that square, you have again allowed your hand to move in such a way that you created 3 connected with each other islands, or 3 spaces. And now you are filling up these spaces, 1 space, 1 tangle pattern. Don't mix up in the same space different tangle patterns. 1 space, 1 tangle pattern. And as you are doing that, you are doing it with half your speed, not a mechanical way of doing that. You are doing it very, very slowly. And as you are doing that, let me tell you that how I came across Zentangle. It is a very interesting situation. I have been a trainer. I've been training people for the change of their behavioral patterns. And that had taken me to, I'm talking about now about 10 years, 12 years ago, 11 years ago. We were training some 12,000 people, 12,000 employees of the electricity distribution company in Bangalore. Every employee had to go through our 3 days program. So I was extremely busy. Every Monday morning, I would leave and I would come back home on Friday evening. So we'll go to place and train people and come back. Now, that was also the time when my wife had retired from her active life of 39 years of working for the aircraft company in India. She was designing helicopters and designing putting up various kinds of weapon systems on helicopters, testing them out, and so on and so forth. So it was a very, very busy life, that very stressful life that she was leading. And she was looking forward to her superannuation, the day on which she says goodbye to the work and come back home. So at the age of 60 in 2010, she retired. And before retirement, 6 months, she had been creating a good volume of her own handwritten booklet, what she called as a bucket list. And in her bucket list, she had prepared that she wanted to learn some new art forms. She wanted to write some books. She wanted to connect the connections between art, science, and technology. And she wanted to visit so many places in the world, and so on and so forth. So she was highly excited to see that she can start working on this. But when she retired, her ailing mother, who was quite old at that stage, nearing 80, she had some problems, some issues, and she was bedridden. And even though we had the help available, the medical help available, and a nurse was, rather semi-nurse was there 24 hours, but my wife was required for total attention to be given to her mother. And that created agitation in her mind, because she could not do what she wanted to do, nor can she move away from this requirement at home. And so it got translated into disturbed, very agitated. And here I come back home on Friday evenings, and moment I come home, she will be full of complaints. She'll complain about the children not doing their work and the studies or whatever was not happening. She'll complain about her mother, who would have behaved in a particular way, and she'll complain about the gadgetry in the house not working, that tap is leaking, the TV is not working, this is not happening, that is not happening. I could understand as a trained counselor that she was going through some inner agitations, which could lead to a kind of mild depression. And if it is not resolved, then it can become a little bigger problem. But I also knew that I cannot counsel her, because as a counselor, between counselor and a counselee, there has to be only one relationship, that of counselor and a counselee. So I knew that this is a very mild thing. It will go away with the time. So I would just listen to her, and whatever I could do in that Saturday, Sunday, I would do, and then I would ignore the rest. This had become a pattern. And I knew that when I go home, I'm going to hear all kinds of complaints and all kinds of situations and troubles and difficulties. But that particular Friday evening, when I came home, I found a very different demeanor, different treatment to me. My wife did not have any complaint, but she was enthusiastic that evening. And she asked me, come, I want to show you something on my computer. And she opened her screen, and then she showed me what later on I came to know as Zentangle, but she showed me these kind of patterns. And I said, oh, this looks like some kind of a doodles. And so I went about doing my work next 2 days. She was busy doing this, and I did not notice. I was not consciously aware of what was happening. Came the next Friday, similar things repeated. Came the third Friday, and that's where I woke up. I said, what is changed in the house? Nothing has changed in the house. My mother-in-law is still not well. My wife has got no other relief available. And how come her behavior has changed with me? That's where I woke up. I said, something is different. And every time she was showing me these patterns, this whatever she was doing, by that time she had started doing in the drawing notebook and all that. So I said, I must do something, because I am also a behavioral trainer. And if this can change the behavior of a person, then I must learn so that I can teach people. So I did my research work that evening. And I found out that it was not the doodles, it was called Zentangle. Then I found out that there was somebody who has created this. And then so many things I learned, I was engrossed into that. So I got drawn, and I said, okay, now since my wife has been learning this for some time, let her become my teacher. So I went down to her next day morning. I said, look, you please teach me what it is. So whatever she had learned, she started teaching me. And then when I would go back to my training days in the Monday to Friday, I would carry a drawing book, and then I would start doing that. To cut the story short, in next few months' time, I started becoming addicted to Zentangle. So on Saturday, Sunday, when I'm back home, we would sit down and do that. There was some weekly challenge being given out by some Canadian Zentangle teacher. So we got addicted to that, and then we would create our own tiles. These are called tiles, 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch piece is called tile. So this tile will create. They would give us some kind of a patterns which we have to use, and we'll use them. And then we were supposed to post on our blog. And that is how we started doing, and we were enjoying doing that. Few months passed by, and suddenly in 2012, one evening, we were challenged that evening in that weekly challenge, they had said that you have to use this time a purple ink and not the black ink. And I was in that place called Panchgani, where we were training some IAS officers. And I said, in this small little town, where will I find time, and where will I be able to get this purple ink pen? So probably this week I will have to forego my joining or my participating in this challenge. That was the thought I slept with in the night, on Monday night. So every Monday evening, I used to find a new challenge coming up. And in the morning when I wake up, I had to wake up early, because I had to take my trainees, they were all IS officers, into the nature. And I had to lead them through what we call as a nature soul nurture. how do you nurture your soul in the nature. So soul nurture process, at 6:30 in the morning, I come out in a very beautiful, very pleasant environment. Under a tree, we stand there. And then I was explaining to them what next 20 minutes they have to do. So I told them that you have to totally surrender all your 5 senses to the nature. Now the senses are available only to the nature. And whatever the nature is offering, these senses will lap it up, pick it up. And as a resultant to that, whatever thoughts are coming to your mind, you have to note down in a diary. We used to give them a small diary. And then in 20 minutes time, you come back. So after understanding the whole process, they started walking. And since I was also into that whole process work, so I also started walking in the same way, aimlessly walking into that beautiful surrounding where there could be flowers, there could be birds chirping the birds, there could be breeze blowing, there can be rustling sound of the leaves under my feet, there can be all kinds of nature created inputs that we had to surrender to. And as I walked few feet away, I find there's a tiny little flower almost at the ground level with 2 big green leaves, and in the middle there is a flower, and the color of that flower was purple. And that flower is calling me. And I bent down, I sat down, and at a 1 foot distance, I am now in dialogue with that flower. And the flower is telling me that, why are you worried? Just look around in the nature and you'll find different shades of purple, different shapes and shades of purple color. And that conversation, even today when I recall, my the hair stands up on my hand. I get that feeling back again. I get the whole picture in front of me. And so in the next 20 minutes time, I found that more than half a dozen different flowers of the different shades of purple I could spot in my walking about. And each of the flower was giving me its own story to me. Anyway, I came back and then we completed that whole process with the people. And then next 3-4 hours, we had some other sessions. But the second part of the day was free. These people we had to pack them up to the town. And so my thought again went back. I said, okay, morning I got those half a dozen flowers. So what should I do? So my inner voice again tells me that just go around and collect those flowers. Along with that, you collect some other patterns which are there in the nature. So I picked up a big bag, and in about 40-45 minutes time, my whole bag was full. 6-7 different colors, colorful flowers of the purple shade were there with me. Along with that, I had some green leaves of the similar patterns, some brown twigs of the similar patterns, and whole thing I come back with to my room. Now, again, I ask my heart, my inner voice, and it says, just make the Zentangle using this. I said, but where? Zentangle is done on paper.
Is it my?
He said, no, you can do it on the earth, Mother Earth. My pen, and with the twig dots, with a twig, and with a twig, I allowed the way you have done with a pen on your piece of paper. And my 3 or 4 juxtaposed islands were ready. And then I picked up all those flowers and all those other pieces of green and brown color similar pieces. They became my patterns, and I started arranging them on. And at the end of about total 4 hours of my work, I had my Zentangle on the earth. And I took a picture, and I called it as a nature tangle, and I put it up with my story. I had taken in between pictures, and I wrote the whole story on my blog, and I slept well that night. Next day morning when I wake up, I found that there was a flood of people coming to visit my blog. Hundreds of people have come, which was unusual. And then when I opened my mail, Gmail, I find a mail from the creators of this Zentangle, which picture I showed you. And they say, look, we saw your out-of-the-box treatment to Zentangle, which we had not thought in this fashion, they said. We are so excited that we would like to invite you to be our guest and learn with us, become the certified Zentangle teacher. And I was on the cloud number 9. I called up my wife. I said, wow, the creators have connected with us. And then they said that you will stay with us in our home. But then within few days, the dream went away, because it dawned upon us that we have to travel to USA for that. That was not like from one part of the city to another part of the city to go. It was costing big money. So, to cut the story short, we thought that it was a nice dream, but we cannot do it. And then I wrote that we cannot come and blah, blah, blah. But after 6 months, I got that opportunity, God-given opportunity. My father, who was in India that time, and he fell down, and he was very seriously ill. The doctors in Gujarat told me, and then I called up, they said, look, if you can take him to USA, his treatment can be done there, and anything is possible, because he was 87 years old. And all the entire family members except me were in USA, and I was also away from Gujarat. I was in Bangalore. So my brothers also agreed that yes, it should be done. And I was the only person in India available to take him to USA. So automatically my passage to USA took place. My brothers had to spend money for us. And my brother remembered that this Rick and Maria had invited me. So they forced me to contact them and say whether you can still do it, because the next program was happening in August and I was supposed to travel in July. So to cut the story short, my brother arranged my travel there, and these people were so excited that yes, we would like to have you. And I became the first certified Zentangle teacher for India. I stayed in their home for three days and learned much more. Rick, though he's an American, he had spent about 17 years becoming a monk in a Hindu ashram in his town, in city in USA. He had visited during that period India a few times. He had learned Hindi. He would speak in Hindi. He had done deep meditations. And then he came out, has become a normal human being, got married, etc. And Maria, as I told you that day, that she was a born artist. She would paint the stones on the railway tracks as a small little child, and then those paintings she would put it up in the church on the church bazaar on Sundays, and she would sell them. And so she was a born artist, and she grew up to become a very good calligrapher in USA. In their 50s, they meet. Out of blue, Rick was going to her stores, her stationery stores, to get some printing done, etc. He was doing something else on his own. And that particular day, he was waiting for this lady who was trying to finish the calligraphic assignment, a large one. They were all done by hand. And it took 45 minutes, and she did not even know that this man is standing there. And when she looked up after finishing the last stroke, and all she was doing was simple strokes she was filling up with in the space to make it more beautiful. And the last stroke, when she saw and looked up, and then she, oh, this man is waiting. And she says, what happened? How long have you been waiting? It's about 45 minutes. So she was apologetic. She said, look, I'm sorry. Maybe I lost the track of time. And when she said lost the track of time, that means that you are in meditation. Because in meditation, your mind is totally still, and we people can perceive time only with the movement and activities of the mind. If the mind is having too many activities happening, then we feel that the time has expanded. Which means that, suppose, let's say you are very anxious to receive somebody at the airport. After so many years, that person is coming back and you're gone to airport to receive that person. Consciously, you know that it takes about 15 minutes or 20 minutes before the person can be seen coming out of the gate. But those 15 or 20 minutes will look like 2 hours for you. Every 2, 3, 4 minutes, you'll keep looking to your watch and say, oh, why they have not come? Why they have not yet come? Because your mind is so anxious that the time expands. On the other hand, if your mind is so relaxed that very few activities are happening in your mind, then the time shrinks. Let's say if you're gone to meet your beloved in a beautiful park, and your timings to meet her or him was between 6 in the evening to 7 in the evening, and you are there before 6 o'clock and you are waiting for her or him, and that person arrives, and then you are sitting, looking at each other, admiring each other, and you do not know when it becomes 7 o'clock. Suddenly you find, oh, time has shrunk. We came. So this is what happens, that when your mind is absolutely still, you lose a track of time, and that is meditation. So now I'm going to stop here, because the rest of the story, we can take it further, because I would like to see whether you have completed your task. And if you're completed, I'll come out of this sharing so that you can show me your pictures, and I can probably, how do I spot so that I can see one who is showing me picture can come in the middle of the screen? How do I do that? Lovely. Kian, lovely. But can somebody help me right now? I am seeing myself on the screen.
Dr. Nat is the host here, so only Dr. Nat can do that.
Sorry.
Or if someone is showing, he or he has to speak.
Okay. Okay. So when you're showing, please speak so that you will come in the middle.
Can you see? Yeah.
But why am I not able to see you full screen?
Do I need to like keep speaking only that you appear? Can you see me now?
I can see a picture in a small picture, yes. But lovely. It looks so beautiful. What's
Thank
your
you.
opinion? Yeah, now I can see. Wow, lovely. One by one, show me so that.
Okay.
My first
I'm gonna
ever
show
piece.
mine.
Next person.
Hi. Okay. How about this? Is it you see it all?
Wow, look at that now.
Oh,
How
nice.
different it is from one to the other. Okay. Next. Next, one who has completed, or even if you're not completed, you can show. Aaron, okay, Aaron. Aaron, speak something so that your bigger picture can come.
Yeah, this is what I've done so far.
Okay, now just hold it still. Don't move too much so that it becomes a clear picture to me. Aaron, I am not able to see the line. Can you take it a little backward? Okay, but hold it still. All right. So maybe you have mixed up islands into island. Maybe inside to inside is also okay. But you have just done small little things. You can continue further doing that and fill it up, no problems. Yeah. But it looks like you have been pained to do that. The smooth flow was not to be seen, but that will happen with practice. Okay, next. And if you have any questions, you can ask the question. Okay, no problems.
This is home.
Yeah. Can you?
Yeah, I'm gonna make it.
Keep it in front of your face. Don't look. Let your face be hidden by this. No problems.
See?
Okay. Yeah. Lovely.
I haven't completed yet.
I can see that you have made some patterns and you continued. You use a different pattern. Okay. No harm in that. No problem, because there are hundreds of patterns, thousands of patterns you can do. But you have done that. Okay. Next.
This is
So
fine. I don't know if you can see it.
Just hold it still. Hold it still. Take it backward. Take it backward a little bit. Okay, and hold it still.
Because it's blurred.
No, I'm not able to see.
Yeah, it's censored.
Amalina, I am not able to see, but can you present again?
It's like, sorry,
Yeah,
it's very
just hold it that
small.
way. Small piece I'm seeing there.
That's right.
Okay.
Oh.
Small piece. So you
Sorry, I'm very bad at art.
So you got the first taste of Zentangle creation. Some of you have done big ones, and that looks very interesting. And some of you have done smaller ones. Some of you are not completed. Never mind. But let me ask you, what is your experience? From 2 points, I want to ask you. One is, where was your mind?
Sorry, I think Marnie is yet to show hers.
Sorry?
Marnie, she hasn't shown hers yet.
Were you able to
And even-
hear whatever I was telling? Did you capture my story?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
It's
you did.
just that, it's just that Marnie wasn't able to show hers.
No, my
Yeah,
question
here
is
is mine.
that if you were able to capture my story,
Yeah.
that
Yeah, we
means
did.
that means that your mind was not running away. It was, you could tame your mind. You could tame your mind not by listening to my story. My story was being heard by you. That's a proof. But your hand was busy drawing the patterns, which was not dictated by your mind. I mean, your mind was free to listen to the story. Your mind was not required to draw on piece of paper. That had become an automatic process because you followed the rule that the hand will be given freedom to move. The partnership between the dog and the owner. The partnership between your mind had decided the boundaries, and the mind had decided the time. That was the requirement from the mind side. And then you had engaged yourself for a little while to see those patterns, and then you started putting those patterns in a. Now this was a halfway through process, halfway through experience. But once you learn this fully, and once you have learned, let's say about 30, 40 patterns, and that learning has to happen in a conscious way by practicing, etc., the same way as you do it cursive writing in the childhood and so on and so forth. But once it has happened, and once your mind has got all those patterns embedded inside, then you'll even get much more smoother flow happening whenever you sit down for doing a Zentangle. So I would like to close this session by giving you the 3 rules of the Zentangle, which you have to follow. The rest of the thing I've already explained to you while you're doing this. The rule number 1 is, in Zentangle, there are no mistakes. It's a very, very curious, very, very interesting rule. It says that whatever has happened. It is supposed to happen that way. It's not that you will not make any error, but do not treat that error as a mistake. I hope you are understanding the difference between the error and a mistake. The error could be that whatever you have to draw, let's say 3 lines you have to draw, and you draw only 2 lines, or you have to draw a straight line, but it has become a little curved line. It's an error, but it's not a mistake. It was supposed to have happened that way, so it has happened. That's the rule number 1. Okay, and you have to obey to this rule whenever you sit down for doing Zentangle. And why they made this rule is because world over, people are afraid of making mistakes. And because of those mistakes, that fear, they do not undertake learning anything new. So to remove that barrier, they made this rule number 1, that there are no mistakes in Zentangle. Whatever is supposed to happen is happening, and you just ignore and move on. The rule number 2 is, and this is very important, there is no pre-planning for Zentangle. No pre-planning. Normally, everything happens twice, as Stephen Covey has very beautifully put it up in his book called 7 Habits of the Most Effective People. He says everything is born twice. And particularly for art forms or artists, the art form takes birth in the mind. The artist will visualize the whole picture in his mind, the colors, the stands, the whatever, way he wants to see it on the canvas or on paper, visualize in the mind. And then he tries to bring it out the way he has seen it in the mind. It should come out on the piece of paper or on a canvas. And here, the rule said no pre-planning. So no visualization in the mind. And you cannot visualize an abstract shape anyway. So you will find that whatever shape has come out on your hand, on your piece of paper, you simply cannot repeat again. Next time when you follow the same rules, something different will come out. So every time you create a Zentangle art form, it is an original art form created by you, because it is an abstract piece of art, not created by any pre-planning. You have not decided in the mind how it should look. You have just allowed your mind to remain blank there, to remain a witness. Your hand takes over to do whatever has to be done. So that's a subtle part, that no pre-planning. And the third rule is therefore no post-judgment. So you see that for mindfulness, the 4 elements are important. For meditation, 3 elements are important, and how all 4 of them have been beautifully woven into the rules, that you will not be having any kind of pre-planned pattern. And if it is not a pre-planned pattern, then against what will you judge? If I say that I am drawing a square, and then I draw some square, then you can judge that square from the point of view that are all the 4 sides equal? Are all the 4 corners equal 90 degrees? And if it is not so, then you'll say it is not a square. But you will not judge it from the point of view of a circle, because I was drawing a square. However, when you are not even having any pre-planning of whatever is going to come out on the piece of paper, there is absolutely no question of judging in any form, whether it is right or wrong, whether it's good or bad. No. This subtle judgment might come when you go for individual patterns rules. For example, if I say that in the tipples, that the circles which you are drawn, the circles are supposed to touch each other. That was the rule for making that pattern. And they are not supposed to cross each other. And suppose you find that in 1 or 2 places it has crossed, then it will be called as an error. And therefore the first rule will apply, that there are no mistakes in Zentangle. So even that you have to ignore. So beautifully they have worked out that if you internalize these rules so very strongly, and you learn these various patterns, and then you practice them regularly, then you will be able to create the Zentangle art, which will give you a meditative state of mind over a longer period. It will give you a change of your behavioral patterns, which are more desirable for you. And instantaneously, if you want to change the gears, so to say, in situations where you have been disturbed, upset, angry, or whatever, it can bring you back to the neutral place very fast, giving you the instantaneous gratification. So this is the Zentangle process. You have moved from doodles to Zentangle. You crossed over that yellow line from the unconscious secondary activity called doodles to a conscious and primary activity called Zentangle. And for that, you need to build your library, build your Zentangle village by learning 30-40 patterns. And if you want to learn those patterns, I would suggest very quickly, if you do not want to search out on the internet, then all you do is go to my YouTube channel. So all you have to do is you have to go to in the search mode on the YouTube and put Dilip Patel Bangalore Zentangle. These 3 words, if you put together, then it will somehow give you the some of the YouTube. And then by clicking them, you will be able to reach to my channel. And if you subscribe there, then it will be easier for you to again go back to that. So there are 17, I have called it as a ABC of Zentangle. The simple patterns to a little more complicated patterns, I have demonstrated them. In every video, it is not more than about 3 to 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes sometime, but there are 3 to 4 patterns I have demonstrated. So you can watch them on your screen. You can stop that screen and you can convert that into a piece of paper and then start practicing, so that you are ready to follow these 3 rules and then sit down and then create your own Zentangle tiles. I will stop here. I've done my job. Now it is all in your hands. And if there are any questions, I'm still available to answer.
Yeah, you can take two questions. This is going to be 11 o'clock and we need to wind up. So
Yeah.
maybe we give two questions. Two short
Certainly.
questions.
Just want to, because I have students that last time that, when listening to the class, lesson, then he can't stop like drawing. It's also part of the Zentangle, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because based on what I try to listen to your story at the same time, I'm drawing, miraculously that, I can still do both.
You can do that. You can do that, and people have benefited, provided your mind does not get entangled into whatever drawings you are doing, because if that one is demanding some kind of a judging, say there's a right or wrong. Let's say you're drawing a dog and you say, oh, this doesn't look like a dog, it looks like a donkey to me. So that's a judgment going in the mind. And when that is happening, then your mind will come away from whatever you are listening. So Zentangle is so very carefully crafted out, these rules, wherein there is no scope left open for any judging. And these judgings are very subtle judgments, good and bad, right and wrong. That has to be dropped. Then you can do it any other way also.
It's my how I feel. Okay, not a question, but just how I feel, because I feel that because I mentioned to the fellows before that I'm OCD. I'm very OCD. So when just now I'm trying to do this right, I noticed that my OCD part was getting rid of it. It's like I no longer like, because I because that I just cannot. In fact, when I draw also, I normally use pencil. I hardly do that. So I find it that it's really wow. Suddenly my OCD part is like can be taken away.
You can come out of the OCD part. Yes, definitely.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And I can see that you already put your first style as your background.
Yeah. Okay. One more question, please. Or sharing, or thoughts. Yeah. Right.
I just find it so interesting, Sir Dilip, that it's like, well, Zentangle is not about thinking too much, right? Definitely just like having your mind focused. But I find that it's really a good mix, because I also still think about the patterns, and despite me not dictating too much, but I'm able to listen to you. So like, it's like being in, like the last class, being both like in the dance while like looking at the dancers from safe, it's like it's interesting. I like it. So thank you for the experience.
Yes. Okay, that's nice. So Dilip, I think they have enjoyed your session. We hope we can call you again once they become, they all are supposed to maintain a journal and also a blog. And I hope they will put some Zentangle patterns on the blog, and you may be called to just share your thoughts about this Zentangle. Give them some time and we will certainly engage with you again. Thank you so much, Dilip. Thank you so much. Nirmal?
Yeah, thank you very much, Dilip sir. It was very magical and relieving. I think it gave me lots of relief. So every time I get some problems, I have now Zentangle. Thank you very much.
Is the background an artificial one, or you are in a nature slab?
No, it's a natural one.
Wow, where are you located? It's beautiful.
It's southeast of Kathmandu, 40 kilometers from Kathmandu in Nepal.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Yes.
Lovely, lovely.
Yeah, we have people one from Kathmandu. We have two from Manila, Philippines. We have the rest from 3 from Malaysia and 1 from Sri Lanka.
Okay.
So you have an international set of students here, fellows here. So we hope you will meet them again sometime. Thanks,
Yes, sure.
Dilip. We'll be just meeting for a while, and you can go and take a rest. You can take a rest.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much,
and all the very best to all of you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, guys, I think I'll take about 2-3 minutes. Okay, so you have yesterday you had Uday showing you one way of meditating, but this is another way. There are many ways to meditate, many ways to be mindful, many ways to be alert, many ways to be watchful. So here was an example through art, though not an art of an artist where you have 3 stages of planning this and that. This is an art that comes from unconscious side to the conscious side. So please keep practicing it. He's got a beautiful YouTube channel. You could go and check again. Just so pick up these methods of meditation. We will go through a few more methods. Pick up those things, combine what you can do to get into that, that deep, as I've sent the word, this thing, disengaging with textuality, just engage with the world, connect with the world without your mind. Not that you become mindless in that way, but in terms of becoming much more available for the world after that stage of meditation. Okay, it's been nice, that all of you were there. Unfortunately, Zen was unable to join us, but anyway, we can't do anything about it. Okay, we are going to go to the last section in another week's time. We have a number of sessions in between. Ray has asked for some adjustment of time. We will come to that. Ray, just give us a little bit of time so that I can discuss that. We are meeting on Tuesday. I think I will take some time for Ray. But on Tuesday, again, we will meet on your diary entry sharing once more. So please be ready with at least one entry that you have done, diary entry to be shared. That is one thing, but don't forget that you have to, if Zen's coming, if you're connecting with Zen or anybody connecting, she has to present 2 sessions. She owes us 1 session of sharing. Amelina is in a little bit of, trouble situation. So I think we will work with her. Ray is, trying to manage the time. But these sharings are important for all of you all to connect with each other. I think you are beginning to understand each other. I am beginning to understand you much better, slowly. Your time, your routine, your challenges, your concerns, I have notes, so I'm beginning to understand. And I think after this month, I'll understand each one of you better. So that is one of the reasons why we are going also through this. But now we have finished 3 learning encounters of the main one, Professor Jinan, Professor Martens, Professor Uday. I would like you all to begin, connecting, as somebody likes to say, connecting the dots. Please, please connect the dots. Try to make. You see, these 3 months is a rebooting self. Initiating self and social transformation. So this is the initiating self